My loved toddler, I want you to keep in mind that the instant you are status in right now isn't an ordinary second. This isn't just another day. This is not an hour passing without that means, nor a breath taken without intention. This is a heavenly moment that has been marked, appointed, and opened long earlier than the rules of time. I am lifting a veil not to stir your interest, however, to convey you into a realm of focus, reserved most effective for folks who are chosen. The gentle stirring you feel inside isn't always your feelings. It's far the signal of heaven. The invisible tension around you is not resulting from circumstance. It's far the beginning of a divine shift. I'm drawing you closer due to the fact I do not need you to overlook this, because this second is essential on your spiritual adventure. What I'm doing isn't a response to your troubles. It is a part of the eternal plan I wrote over your lifestyles. There are non-secular movements that best occur when the heavens align right into an unmarried call. And now that name is sounding. I'm starting a stream of intervention, no longer in keeping with your timing, but in line with the timing I've chosen. You are not status before an occasion. You are status before a shift. This isn't always the change of a day, however, the change of a season. No longer a minor adjustment, however, a whole rebuilding. I raise the veil, not so that you can see the future, however, so you can see that I am the one main you into it. And you will recognize this shift has been marked upon your very soul, no person else's. You do no longer realize how a whole lot the spiritual conflict around you has intensified. You experience greater tired, however do not recognize why. You sense extra strain, however cannot pick out its supply. You sense something trying to restrain your steps, but it cannot reach you. I want you to recognize you aren't sincerely touchy. You are below assault. You aren't developing vulnerable. The front lines are coming closer. And because of this, I've sent the Archangel now not to frighten you, however, to defend what I placed inside you. Now not to display energy, but to confirm that you belong to the army of heaven. You aren't getting into this phase alone. You aren't combating alone. You aren't stepping into this new season with the aid of your power. I've activated the very best safety over your soul, because the blessing this is coming is likewise the target of darkness. There may be no lasting transformation if your internal international stays torn. There may be no true development in case your coronary heart is still weighed down. You have come through days in which you compelled yourself to be sturdy, nights in which you soothed your own soul, seasons where you held yourself together at the same time as no person saw. You bought used to patching your coronary heart just sufficient to maintain shifting. But I see deeper than you notice. I see the wounds you now not dare to call. I see the dark corners you have grown aware of burying. I see the empty areas you have found out to fill with busyness and sacrifice. I have not come to reopen your pain. I have come to touch it with the gentleness of my electricity. Now not to convey again sorrow, but to carry transformation. Now not to make you sink, but to make you whole. This is the intervention in which I lead you into whole recuperation. No more halfway. No greater brief bandages. You notion I simplest wanted you peaceful. However, I need you robust. You idea I most effective desired you healed. However, I need you steady. You idea I most effective desired you to live to tell the tale. However, I want you to rise so that it will step fully into the new season. Your inner bases should be rebuilt from stone, no longer sand. I am replacing the old foundations, those built on doubt, worry, and exhaustion, with foundations of religion, mild, and truth. I'm setting inside you a structure that no pressure of darkness can shake. You may now not tremble on the whispers of shadows. You will not be without problems swayed by a weary season. You may not stay inside the anything takes place country. I am forming you into someone who understands they may be selected, included, and organized. And from that foundation you may walk without wavering. I'm no longer leading you into the brand new season with haste. I'm leading you with the serenity of someone truly chosen. I need your steps regular, your spirit clean, your heart healed, your soul softened, your inner being reinforced. You aren't getting into the brand new season as someone running far away from the vintage. You are entering as one who's known as, no longer because you are exceptional, however because I've ordained it over your lifestyles, no longer because you are skilled, but because you belong to me, not because you're deserving. However, due to the fact I love you with intentional love, and the whole lot I'm doing, lifting the veil, sending angels, healing, rebuilding, all result in one reason, that you may step into my eternal plan. the one no strength can scouse borrow from my fingers. My child, I want you to understand that the territory you're entering into is now not the calm region you as soon as knew. This is a non-secular battlefield where the heavens have already taken formation. You have been living through days that appear every day, but in the back of the invisible curtain, moves have begun. Darkness has targeted the vulnerable factors you are not yet aware of. Strain has increased around the areas wherein I'm constructing energy. However, you may not face this via your very own might. I go earlier than you because the commander of all the armies of heaven. I assign my angels around your property. I establish a spiritual barrier where your toes stand. You notice silence. I see armies assembling. You experience a smooth breeze. I see the battlefield shifting. You are not coming into this combat alone. I lead, and you follow. There are instances after I do now not send the archangel to the earth. I simplest achieve this when there may be motion occurring at a strategic degree, whilst you experience an uncommon heaviness, whilst you experience invisible assaults urgent towards your soul as though attempting to break you, whilst irrational events begin to appear one after every other. All of those are symptoms that I'm activating the best degree of protection. Michael does no longer descend to intimidate the enemy. Michael descends to put in force a decree. I do now not ship normal angels into heavy battles. He sends generals. Because you aren't a random believer. You're holding a position within an everlasting plan. And I shield what I place duty upon. When Michael actions, darkness retreats. While Michael rises, each pressure bows low. When Michael lifts his sword, your future is protected in fire. You haven't any concept how often you escaped crumble, genuinely due to the fact I stepped in. Music. You do now not see the toxic thoughts that attempted to go into your thoughts but vanished within seconds. That changed into my angel blocking them. You do now not see the shadows that attempted to stain your worthiness but were overwhelmed earlier than they reached you. Music. You do now not see the hidden plans inside the spiritual realm designed to confuse you. However, they have been shattered in the quiet hours at the same time as you slept. I do not tell you this to frighten you. I inform you this so you will realize that I'm fighting for you a long way more than you realize. I stand in front and also you stand in my shadow. I take the blows. You obtain the peace. I confront the enemy. You confront your calling. My safety isn't a metaphor, it's far actual military movement among light and darkness. There are nights while you dream abnormal goals. There are days when you sense heavy without knowing why. There are moments when you suppose you're growing weaker, but it is truly because darkness is pushing tougher. I see each arrow geared toward the deepest elements of your soul, and that I never allow even one to bypass through the protect I have raised. You do now not need to steer clear of. I call you. You do no longer need to brace yourself. I stand guard. You do no longer need to fight by myself. I am the one status in the line of fireplace. There are moments while you exhale in comfort, wondering you were without a doubt fortunate. However, no, it changed into I who struck down the assault before it arrived. I protect you no longer as a distant discern. However, as a father who knows that even a small cut can disrupt the exquisite assignment, you're guarded not due to the fact you're susceptible, but because you are valuable inside the unseen realm, where forces watch from afar. I claim what you belong to me. You are not a wandering shadow. You are the only who contains my seal upon your spiritual forehead. When I stand for you, all of heaven is aware of. When I increase my sword for your protection, darkness trembles. When I proclaim that you are stored, no energy dares to enhance similarly. I do not stand with you silently. I stand in a way that every strength can see. You idea you have been nameless inside the spiritual realm. However, you are recognized far extra than you comprehend. You are not only cherished, you're defended through my name. What belongs to me, no force can scouse borrow. There are obstacles I've drawn around you, and no darkness is allowed to go them. There are doors I have closed, and no one is strong enough to open them. There are doorways I've opened, and nobody is robust enough to close them. What you name luck is truly my non-secular border pudding. What you name perfect timing is absolutely my mobilization behind the scenes. You cannot see the warfare map. However, I'm transferring every battalion of heaven with precise timing to maintain. You secure for the season in advance. You do not want to know it all. You best want to recognize this. No darkness can touch you without passing through me first, and no darkness has ever defeated me. Sometimes you are not attacked from the outdoor. You are pulled down from inside. silent fear, self-doubt, self-blame, lingering exhaustion. The one's internal voices do now not come from me. I shield you from the enemy. However, I also defend you from the thoughts trying to drown you from the interior. I ward off the lies. I overwhelm the voices that try to make you experience worthless. I heal the parts of you that have judged yourself wrongly. I do now not permit any word, whether spoken with the aid of others or whispered within yourself, to destroy the identity I placed in you. Shielding you isn't always just outside battle. It's miles inner rescue. I did not create you to continue to exist via season in a country of barely keeping on. You have been no longer made to merely exist. You were made to upward push. By difficulty, a decree moving you from passive to active. You now not run from the battlefield. You stand in it with the armies of heaven behind you. You not worry. You are wrapped in my glory. You not retreat. I come up with energy the enemy cannot are expecting. I do not call you to tremble inside the shadows. I call you to stand upright within the light. And right now I am setting into your arms the religious weapons heaven has prepared. You do no longer fight alone. You fight with the full backing of my nation. My child, there are vintage clothes. You've got worn due to the fact you believed. You wanted them to continue to exist. The garment of fake energy. The garment of silence due to the fact you fear explaining yourself. The garment of lengthy, persevered resistance that hardened you. The garment of believing you're unworthy, not enough. While crucial, I see every of these layers and I lightly, oh so lightly, eliminate them from your shoulders. I do not tear them away. I do now not force you. I do no longer hurt you. I touch them in that they fall off via themselves. You had been now not born to put on the garb of disappointment. You have been no longer referred to as to carry the robe of self-diminishing. You belong to the light, and those things can't stay when I strip them away. It is not to depart you uncovered. It's miles to dress you in the identification I woo for you before time started out. You have got lived at the floor for some distance too lengthy. You have faced existence through the outer layers, whilst I've usually appeared directly into the roots. And in this second, I location my hand on the deepest part of you. The area where you have been rejected, wherein you have been damaged, where you clenched your tooth and endured so no one could see you hurting. Music, I can no longer allow those wounds to maintain figuring out your root. I'm able to no longer permit those painful memories to manufacture a false identity over you. I'm renewing your roots with the fact that you belong to me, no longer to people who as soon as wounded you. You no longer ought to hold going for walks at the antique ground. I am planting you into new soil of peace, stability, and readability about who you truly are. And once your roots are healed, every fruit in your existence will begin to trade. Recovery isn't surely soothing your pain and leaving you to figure out the rest. Recuperation is structural transformation. I am casting off the antique thoughts that after weakened you. I'm unworthy. I ought to bring the entirety by myself. I don't be counted. I have to live within the historical past. The one's voices did not come from me. I update them with fact. You are chosen. You are seen. You are cherished. You are referred to as. I'm resetting the rhythm inner you, not the frantic rhythm of invisible stress, not the moved quickly rhythm born of fear, now not the desperate grip on things that do not nourish your soul. I'm bringing you into the rhythm of my guidance, gentle but strong, peaceful but sharp, deep yet in no way exhausting. From right here on, you'll now not simply stay, you'll operate in grace. Fear does not disappear via factors. Fear disappears when I step in. The fear of being deserted, the worry of not being enough, the worry of choosing wrong, the worry of being judged, the fear of being hurt again. Those fears once induced you to pull away, even though your soul become created to walk huge and loose. I do now not scold you for being afraid. I touch your worry the way a father touches the forehead of a feverish baby. I do now not say do now not worry. I let you experience I'm here, and when my presence enters, worry can't continue to be. You will now not tremble earlier than invisible voices. You may not keep away from the trails I open for you. You'll walk forward now not because the concern is long gone, but because you understand I am main. My presence is more potent than your trembling. You once noticed yourself as a person slightly preserving stability, but I see you as a person anointed. You saw yourself as an ordinary man or woman trying to do their fine, but I see you as a person bearing the imprint of heaven. I raise you out of the low locations of self-doubt. I raise you out of the judgments that once made you decrease. I elevate you into your genuine identification, a warrior of mild, a provider of blessing, one entrusted with spiritual obligation. Now not duty that weighs you down, but duty that raises you up. You now not have permission to decrease yourself. I am putting the weight of royalty upon your shoulders. From now on, you'll now not stroll as someone reactive. However, as a person sporting spiritual have an effect on, what I am leading you through is not random. It's miles preparing you for the weight of glory you are approximately to hold. You aren't simply moving into a new season. You are moving into a brand new position. You aren't simply receiving blessing. You're carrying blessing. You aren't virtually being let out. You have become an instrument of freedom. You are not best being covered. You are getting one who stands in the ranks of mild. The distinction this is coming isn't always an outward flash, but an inward depth of electricity, intensity of purity, depth of adulthood. I did now not shape you to burst brightly and fade fast. I formed you to polish gradually, to radiate in a manner nothing can extinguish. And what I'm setting inside you today is the muse to be able to keep you consistent as you enter that radiance. I need you to feel this with absolute clarity. I'm not merely restoration you, I'm recreating you. I'm no longer actually comforting you, I'm positioning you. I do now not see you as a fragile toddler barely getting by. I see you as one wearing a sacred element in my plan. I stand with you not only to embody you, but to establish you. I lay down a brand new foundation inside you, no longer to make your existence simpler, however to make your lifestyles aligned. You upward push now not with the aid of your energy, but by means of the breath I impart. And you'll enter your new season not with shaky steps, but with the steady stride of someone who knows they may be selected. I see the manner you start every morning with small hopes. You do now not dare to mention out loud. I see the way you stand before the replicate, no longer to appreciate your reflection, however to test if your soul has sufficient energy to step out into the day. I see the manner you make breakfast in silence, now not because you adore quiet, but because noise might crack the fragile portions interior you. I see the way you smile at others even as trembling inside, because you are uncertain how much your heart can take care of today. I see the evenings when you lie down and pull the blanket better, as if attempting to find safe haven. I see the instant you release your smartphone only to turn it off again, due to the fact you not recognize what to say, and that I input the one's moments now not to choose, however to fill. I do no longer stand simplest on your grand victories. I stand within the tiny spaces no person else notices. You suspect I only care approximately the massive battles, but I see each quiet exhaustion. I see whilst you sink right into a chair and sit down in silence, due to the fact your mind is overloaded. I see whilst you examine a messy room and sigh, no longer because you're lazy, but because your soul has no strength left to arrange something. I see whilst you need to name a person, however pause, afraid to be a burden. I see when you swallow tears so that you can hold your day as if nothing passed off. These small matters are not small to me. I collect them all and area my hand upon them like a father bandaging the knee of a baby who has fallen. You do now not want to show your power. You only want to be real, music, and to your truth. I do my work. There are moments whilst you walk slowly. Now not because you're worn out, but due to the fact your soul is weighing every step. I area my peace into the very way you flow. There are instances when your voice softens. Now not because you lack self-assurance, however due to the fact you worry hurting a person or fear saying the incorrect factor. I place my balance into your voice. There are moments while you are taking a deep breath to constant yourself after a person says something that wounds you. I step gently into that breath and make it calm. Recuperation isn't usually an amazing second. Every so often it is clearly a breath that not trembles. You do now not need to trade quick. You most effective need to allow me modify you layer by way of layer. You don't know this. However, I stand beside you on every occasion. You're making a preference that others could bear in mind small, whilst you choose silence in preference to argument, while you choose to stroll away to keep peace. Music whilst you pick to do some greater so someone else can rest. When you pick to forgive even when no person apologizes. Music whilst you pick to hide your sadness so no one else has to worry. All of those moments are recorded in my coronary heart. I see them now not as random acts, however, as evidence of the gentleness on your soul. And it is those small things that make me want to bless you in greater approaches. There are rooms inside your coronary heart that you have locked: the room of failure, the room of shame, the room of loss, the room of things you wish had by no means occurred. I gently ask you to open every door, I do now not pressure, I do no longer rush. I absolutely wait outside, keeping the key whilst you are ready. And while you open it, I input not to accuse, but to show on the mild. Darkness exists only because nobody has grew to become at the lamp. I clean the one's rooms, putting warm temperature into each nook. No room in your lifestyles is forgotten. When I am in the residence, I know there were those who spoke love, however hurt you with the identical phrases. I know there were the ones you depended on who had been simplest gift for your vibrant days. I realize there have been human beings you desired to hold tightly, but they were those who let move first. I realize there had been human beings you tried your satisfactory to keep. However, the extra you hung on, the greater it hurt. I do not put off all of us from your life to punish you. I cast off them to save you. I do now not permit any door to shut without reason, and that I by no means allow you to enjoy loss without preparing recuperation on the alternative facet. You might imagine there are elements of you so one can in no way heal. The part that become betrayed, the element that become unnoticed, the element that was abandoned, the part that screamed but no person heard, the element that wanted to love however feared it, the part that tried to open but shut itself quickly. However, I inform you, there is no element too deep for me to touch, no axe too antique for me to resume, no memory too darkish for my light to pierce. You had been no longer intended to carry those wounds for a lifetime. You had been meant to be healed. You'll no longer only be healed inside. I'm renewing the environment around you as well. I rearrange every relationship that needs to shift. I remove what drains you. I pull you out of cycles that maintain you losing yourself. I open doors to healthy connections, locations wherein you do no longer have to prove, perform, or fake. I location people to your existence who lift rather than pull, who heal as opposed to wound. The brand new season does now not come best into your spirit. It comes into the environment surrounding you. You as soon as lost yourself trying to please each person. You once lost yourself chasing what you notion you wanted. You once lost yourself out of worry of being left at the back of. You as soon as lost yourself trying to be more potent than vintage ache. But I'm preserving you now, so you will now not go with the flow away once more. I maintain your coronary heart so it does now not fall lower back into anxiety. I preserve your thoughts in order that they do now not run closer to the past. I preserve your steps so that they do now not wander into wrong paths, and you may not lose yourself anymore. Music. Due to the fact I am maintaining you with my very own electricity, you will reach an area wherein your coronary heart now not trembles from worry, in which alternatives no longer crush you, where loyalty now not exhausts you, wherein my silence now not frightens you, an area in which you understand that so long as I'm there, the whole lot will fall into its rightful vicinity. Peace will no longer be something you force yourself to preserve. It will become the herbal atmosphere you breathe, now not due to the fact there are no troubles. However, because you understand I am keeping each problem in my fingers, you do not want to be strong earlier than me. You do not want to preserve your photo together. You do not need to be proper. You do no longer need to be geared up. Nowadays, I simply need you to rest your head in opposition to my chest and breathe. Simply breathe, due to the fact it's time so that you can realize something simple but profound. You not need to keep yourself. I am the one who saves you, and I am doing it. Now even as you take a seat right here, becoming lighter, softer, calmer, you cannot see it. However, it's far inside the most regular moments that I carry out the private miracles. While you wash dishes with hands that tremble from exhaustion, I stand right behind you, whilst you sit on my own in a dim room with handiest a small lamp lit. I location my warm temperature into that mild so your coronary heart might not experience deserted when you make a cup of warm water and marvel. If absolutely everyone understands your vacancy, I'm the one filling you, whilst you sit down by way of the window searching at a small piece of sky, wondering in case your existence is going inside the proper course. I stand beside you whispering, so long as I'm right here, you will now not lose your manner, even while you tidy your desk and set up small objects in region. I'm using that very act to gently reorder your soul, making it lighter, clearer, calmer, and constant. There are dry locations within you, no longer because you were wrong. However, because for goodbye you have been in no way touched by means of actual love. There are elements of you unnoticed, not due to the fact you were careless, but due to the fact you now not had the strength to care. There are fractures so diffused that even you cannot see them, but the instant I location my hand upon them, You all of a sudden realize simply how exhausted you virtually are. I do now not heal you by asking you to try more difficult. I heal you by inviting you to release. I turn the locations you as soon as saw as barren into soil in which new life can take root. I transform what you as soon as believed became dead into floor overflowing with lifestyles. I do now not simply fill, I renew. And it's far this renewal you presently sense in each quiet, mild breath you're taking. You once saw yourself via the eyes of others and it made you reduce. You once noticed yourself through the lens of beyond mistakes and it made you doubt. You as soon as saw yourself through my silence, and also you idea I used to be remote. I'm adjusting all of that. I'm teaching you to look yourself through my eyes packed with love, cause, and dignity. You aren't the distorted picture fashioned by using worry. You aren't the manufactured from failure. You aren't a repeated story of the past. You are the only I am rebuilding. And this rebuilding is not handiest stunning, it is enduring. You'll apprehend your increase now, not in grand moments. However, inside the smallest symptoms, a calmer choice, a softer phrase, a slower reaction, a morning where your breath not trembles with tension. Those are the evidences of the miracle I'm performing inside you, my child. I need you to experience this, surely. The technique I'm leading you via isn't always random upheaval, but a planned creation of affection. I see everything you bring. I understand the whole thing you worry. I touch the whole lot you do no longer dare to speak of. And I do not step away. You are being healed not due to the fact you strive, but due to the fact you're allowing me to paintings. You're being lifted not because you are strong, but due to the fact you belong to me. You're being rebuilt no longer due to the fact your life desires to appearance. Lovely, however, due to the fact your life needs to be genuine. True to the layout I formed from the start. You will no longer step into your future with a weary coronary heart anymore. You will not drag your F beneath the weight of what has now not but passed off. You will not retain dwelling half of wakeful, one too numb, half of uncertain. You will enter the new season as a person who is aware of they have been healed, held, selected, and prepared. And when you continue to feel afraid, I can stand there. Whilst you experience not enough, I can cover you. Whilst you step returned in hesitation, I'm able to draw you forward once more. While you do now not know where to go next, I will manual you with light sufficient for one step at a time. No pressure can pull you from my palms. No darkness can extinguish the light I've placed inside you. Music. No human plan can damage the plan I've written over your existence. You belong to me, and I'm able to bring you through the whole adventure. And whilst you near your eyes on nights, when it feels like no person hears the sound of your weary sighs, know that I'm nevertheless there, sitting beside you, conserving the rhythm of your coronary heart so it does no longer fall into chaos. So long as you stay in my fingers, every proper door will open at the time I have chosen. Thank you for being attentive to this message. Realize that you are not only a viewer, you are chosen to dwell within the presence of God's phrase each day. Take into account to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you might not omit any divine and significant messages. Amen.